Welcome to the Sustainable Dish Podcast. I'm Diana Rogers, a real food registered dietitian, author, and sustainability advocate. I co-host this podcast with James Connolly, who was a producer on my film, Sacred Cow. I also founded the Global Food Justice Alliance, an initiative advocating for the inclusion of animal-sourced foods like meat, dairy, and eggs for a more nutritious, sustainable, and equitable worldwide food system. You can check it out and join me at globalfoodjustice.org. Thanks again for listening, and now on to our show. Today's podcast is sponsored by Paleo Valley, makers of one of my favorite supplements, the Organ Complex. It contains all of the benefits of liver, heart, and kidney to those of us who don't really love eating those ancestral foods because of the taste. The nutrients are helpful for brain health, hair, skin and nails, and also for energy. Get 15% off with my link, sustainabledish.com/PV15. That's sustainabledish.com/PV15. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I have Kevin Gianni with me here today from Annmarie Skin Care. I am a huge fan of this line, and it was really great to catch up with him not too long ago and hear a little bit of his backstory. And I wanted to invite him in the podcast because I think it's always interesting. I love having entrepreneurs on the show that are in this space. I've had the guys from Alex Ice Cream, which I'm a huge fan of, and several other cool kind of smaller companies that are, really dedicated to amazing sourcing and like totally in line with everything I talk about as Sustainable Dish. So, I think that learning a little bit about your background and then how you started the company would be of interest to my listeners. So welcome, Kevin.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to
Yeah.
be here.
And you're not too far away. You're over in Connecticut at the moment.
Newtown, Connecticut. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's where we're at.
Awesome. So yeah, why don't you share a little bit about your personal health journey and then how you became to start this amazing company that I'm so psyched about.
Yeah, so I was always into fitness. That was kind of like the thing that I was always into. I'd go to the gym and people would ask me like, "What are you doing? Like how does that all work out?" And so met Annmarie after I ran a marathon and didn't properly train for it, and she was an athletic trainer. So we met at the the office there, and and so we became personal trainers, and so that was like our first thing. And then of course, you naturally, the way that it goes is like you get into fitness and then you start to think about health. So we started thinking about our health, and we started to explore different diets. I took a lot of time to start a YouTube channel called Renegade Health, and we were talking about vegan diet, raw food diet. So we were kind of down that kind of extreme diet path, which I think everyone who's gotten to where any of us are now, like, you kind of go against the bumpers to find out like where they are and how to figure out like what works for you and what doesn't. And
Mm-hmm.
you might get burned a little bit, you might not. So we did that, and we did the Renegade Health show for a long time. And within that, what was happening was a lot of our customers, a lot of our viewers were asking Annmarie about, what kind of products do you put on your skin? And we were traveling in an RV at the time, kind of like interviewing health experts. And so we went into the small little bathroom in the RV, opened up the cabinet just to see what was in there. And we started reading all the ingredients, and we said, you know what, like we're eating this like pure organic, we can debate raw food and vegan later, but like eating this pure organic diet, and like we cannot recommend these products to our people. Like these are our followers. They're looking for us to give expert advice, or at least vetted advice, and we weren't able to do it. So we went on this path of trying to find something that we could recommend. This is back 2009, so this is before like a lot of the landscape has changed since then, which is a really good thing, by the way. Um, and so we started to look around, and we couldn't find anything that we wanted to recommend. We said, all right, maybe we can formulate something, with someone else. And so we talked to a few formulators. That's when it got a little bit ugly. At that point, we were having conversations about, you know, ingredients that we were against that didn't, would be in the product, but we didn't need to put it on the label, which is still true to today, which is like super shocking. It's been how many years since then, and there's still, ingredients that if under a certain threshold don't need to be put on the label, which is, just off. I think it's awful. I think it's just deceit. Um, and so that was kind of when our activist mindset set in. We had done some work on labeling GMOs, and like, and we're really passionate about making sure that, there's truth and there's kind of authenticity in any industry, whatever it is, food, pharmaceutical, diet, like all the things. Like we need to have it like let's be honest here. And so we set out to make our own line. And so luckily we found a fantastic formulator who is now part of the company, and she helped us get on the right path. She was doing it the way that we wanted to. And then with our kind of augmentation and our bigger picture, we were able to launch Annmarie Skincare out of that.
Yeah, I know. My sister actually has a men's grooming line
Oh,
that
cool.
she makes, and they do pretty well. And she was explaining to me that once you start adding water, then there's like all kinds of chemicals that to like stabilize it and stuff. Do you have any of the products that have water in them, and how have you dealt with that?
Absolutely. So water is the thing. Like when you look at a product and you see water listed in like one or two in the one or two slot, it's going to be preserved in a way that is probably not the best. If it's on the gentler side, it's sodium benzoate. If and even I mean, alcohol is an okay preservative, but it's going to dry your skin. So like you're kind of looking at those. Those are the two that are like passable, I would say, and then it just gets worse from there. There's tons of other things that people can use to preserve it. We use aloe, and what we do with our aloe is that we've used uh, different types: aspen bark extract, rosemary extract, things like that, natural type preservatives that allow for a decent shelf life. I'm not going to say that it's not going to last 10 years like some of the other products will, but our serums are the ones that will have the aloe, and those are going to last a year and a half, 2 years. And if you're not using that product in a year and a half, 2 years, I mean, you don't need, don't buy it. You know what I mean? Save your money. You know what I mean? Like, we can find something that works for you that you use regularly. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, the serums, I have to say, of all your products, are my favorite. I've tried everything and I like all of them. I use the exfoliant often, and I'm so excited I just got another so I can keep like one in the shower.
yeah,
And then I'll keep one out of the shower. The aloe herb cleaner is cleanser is really nice and gentle, and so I use it morning and night. And then, but it's the anti-aging serum and the citrus cell serum are the two serums that I use on a regular basis. They smell so good. I know I was like reading on your website like all the benefits and everything, but as a user, I like number one want to make sure it smells amazing when I put it on my skin. And both of these, they're very different. Obviously, the citrus one is really citrusy smelling. The anti-aging one has more of like an herbal scent to it. Um, and it just smells right and feels right. Like it has a lovely texture to it. And my skin has responded amazingly to I've been exclusively using your line now for gosh, when did you guys first send this stuff to me to try? Maybe 4 months ago. And I just my skin has never been happier.
it's awesome. I'm kind of shocked, like when I we put a lot of effort into like how the products feel and smell. That's super important. It is like the tactile, like the feel of it. Like if you look, I'm sure you've been there. If you go to Whole Foods or you go to your natural health food store, your co-op, they have the testers out there, and the first thing that anyone does with the testers is put it on your skin, rub it, right? How does it feel? How does it smell? So like I mean, those are the two things that have to happen. The hope is that they work,
Yeah.
right? But if if it feels good and smells good, you're
Mhm.
still gonna try it. And so I'm still shocked at, like, when, if something else comes into our house, someone sends it to us, I'm always looking at other stuff, and Marie's looking at other stuff. Like, we're not like, skincare monogamous or whatever, you know what I mean? Like we're looking for all these types of things
Yeah.
because, like some people make really good products, but I always go back to our serums. They just do have a different feel. And if I try someone else's serum, like, it just doesn't do the same thing on the skin. And
Mhm.
that's a tribute to Bunny and Rachel and, like, the people who are formulating it and looking at it in that way on a regular basis. But you are right; it does have a different thing, and I'm still surprised because I think that the industry would have caught up by now,
Yeah.
and I hope that they
Yeah.
do. Like, please, like, do it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I used to actually I was a marketing manager at Whole Foods Market for 5 years before that was like my last corporate job before I
Oh, wow.
left to raise my kids and I have to say most of my time when I wasn't in the cheese department sampling cheeses and hanging out with the cheese guys, I was in the whole body section sampling products and, like, trying them out, and there's definitely some nice ones there, like, I like the Weleda, skin food, in the tube, that green one, like, that one
Yeah.
smells really good, and it's a nice thick balm for your hands, but there's also a lot of just really cute packaging, but not delivering on the promise there.
Yeah, and that's like the trend that happens. It happens in food too. It's
Mhm.
just like, you get the hot ingredient, you put a token amount of it in your product.
It's goji berry
And
infused, right?
exactly, and it happens everywhere, and then it cycles through again.
Yeah.
I remember, when we were doing some of the health stuff, like, spirulina was popular way back in, like, the '70s, that sort of stuff, and then boom, like, right back, like, 95 to, like, 2005, it's hot again, like, and then I haven't heard about it in a while recently, but I mean, it'll come back again in, like, I don't know, 2030 or something like that. Like, spirulina will be the new hot thing again. You're just like, well, no, it's been, it's just like diet. It's the same thing. You go from, a high carb, and then you go, like, vegan, and then you go, all meat, and then, like, the trends just kind of, like, they just cycle over and over and over.
Yeah. Hopefully people land in what I like to recommend, which is just like a reasonable whole foods diet that is incorporating as many foods that aren't problematic for you as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so practical. I mean, it's just not as sexy as, like, just eat this one food or
Moderation is not yeah, well, and I don't even say like everything in moderation, but being moderate and not extremist
yeah.
is, like, guaranteed you're not gonna make any money, right? Because
Yeah.
you're
Oh,
not
for sure.
selling, like, the most extreme thing, but I have strong feelings against, like, super fasting, any kind of extreme diet, and I just think people should, you know, eat real food, not too much, move, get some sunlight, you know, use some good skincare products. I mean, like, it
Exactly.
doesn't have to take over your life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Eat real food, not too much. This is a Michael Pollan thing, right? From the
Yeah, but then he gets kind of meat apologetic in there a little bit, and mm, I mean,
He
I
was in Berkeley for a while, you know.
yeah, yeah, I know, right?
I can say that. We were there for 10 years, so
Berkeley is really intense, yeah. So talk about your vegan journey and how you, came to, becoming omnivores.
yeah, for sure. So we'd heard about the raw food diet from, I think it was David Wolf, right? So we were listening to David Wolf podcasts. We were eating raw chocolate, making chocolate avocado, goji berry, maca smoothies, and that sort of stuff. And for someone who was exercising a lot and, not paying a lot of attention to my diet, I saw results immediately, right? So I mean, like, I never had, like, been, like, really nice and cut, and, just removing some of those things that I was eating on a regular basis, corn chips and, whatever else comes with that, immediately saw results. So, like, ultimately what the mind does is, it's like, says, okay, obviously this is the right path to go. maybe for the rest of my life. Um, so at that time we're still eating some meat, but then kind of went into the um, John Robbins Diet for New America thing. Read his book, uh, got into that for a bit as well. I wouldn't say that we were so much on the animal rights side of the veganism, but on just the healthy diet. Jill Furman, all these people that I'm sure people have heard about and you've heard about as well. And just like any diet that removes processed foods, it worked for, a period of time. And so that was, we were traveling around the RV, we were speaking, teaching people about this. We were doing our videos, interviewing all these people. And I started to get extremely irritable, like like noticeably irritable, like very short fuse, low sex drive, um, like cystic back knee, on my back. And I needed to figure out what was going on because I couldn't get out of bed. It was bad. I literally, like, you Google all those symptoms, and WebMD comes up and says that you have everything from like cancer to AIDS to whatever, and you're just like just so lost, right? And we had access to some of these health experts, but these are all people who are kind of were along that line of vegan or raw food. So the classic like raw food thing is like if you're having symptoms of something, it's because you're still detoxing. And it's like, look, I'm not detoxing 5-6 years into this, like like it's just not. I don't think that's physically possible. So we had a friend that we were introduced to, down in Sarasota, Florida, Dr. James Williams. And we went down to Sarasota. We stayed at Siesta Key down there, and we went up to his office, and he did a whole run of blood tests on me, and got them back. And I sit down in his office, and he looks at me and he says, your pregnenolone, which is like a grandparent hormone, is pretty much at the level of an 85-year-old man. And I'm like, all right, so like, let's fix that. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, well, that means that you probably need to change your diet. That's probably the best way to go about this. And I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, well, I mean, I'm still going to be vegan, right? And he's like, I don't know about that. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then, at that time, like the animal thing had kind of come into grips a little bit. So, there was a lot of weird feelings around that. And what was I going to do? And, and so he finally convinced me to eat yogurt. Right. And so like, I was like, okay, I think I can do some yogurt. That seems to be, you know, a possible solution for me. Now, keep in mind, like we were doing health videos on YouTube, and we were raw and vegan, and we'd be recognized at Whole Foods, co-ops, and all that sort of stuff. So now I had to go into the store and figure out a way to get yogurt and not be recognized. So it's kind of a very difficult situation. So because the first thing, if you saw someone who recognized you, they would like look at you, and then they would look into your cart. It's like this weird like food thing that
Yeah.
people and so so I literally would go, and I would get a bunch of kale, and I would put it in my little basket, and then I would take the yogurt and I would put it like underneath, and I'd cover it up with
Oh.
kale, and I would just hope that someone at the checkout didn't recognize us. So it was kind of a tough thing. But what happened was when I had the permission to eat yogurt, I had some, got the 32-ounce containers of like organic goat yogurt, whatever it is. And it was the only thing that I wanted to eat. I would eat 2 to 3 of them a day because my body was just like, it was just craving whatever was in there. The imprint from the past of like whatever nutrients happened to have been in there. It was just like, we need this and do not stop. And, nothing else. Literally, I barely eat anything else. And after even 3-4 weeks, it became pretty evident that this was definitely working for me. I had so much more energy. I was running at the time. I was able to have that like second and third and fourth gear that I couldn't find, and so it was just it was a whole huge revelation. And over time, I would go back to Dr. Williams, and he would test my blood, and everything just came back to normal.
So you
So
started with yogurt. That's the first time someone's told me that they started with yogurt.
yeah.
I've heard, we just had Yoga Girl. the other day, and for her, it was an egg. I know with Leah Keith, it was canned salmon, I think.
Hmm.
For other people, they go out and they just like go get a burger, like they just like break down and need that or
Yeah.
bacon. But I've never heard yogurt before.
Yeah. The air was inspiring back in the day. I don't remember how the timelines crossed, but I don't know if I was experiencing the same thing that she was experiencing, like when she was kind of going through her
Houlier,
process too. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for anyone listening who hasn't seen my film and, or is not familiar with Leah Keith, and is curious, her book, The Vegetarian Myth, is absolutely wonderful, and it's just talks about her, experience, so it's almost like the book Sacred Cow, but in a memoir, kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you went from yogurt to how long were you just on yogurt before you started pulling other foods in?
It wasn't too long after. I think the thing for me, I'm pretty pragmatic when it comes to like, if it works, continue. And I just saw the evidence. Like I think that was like the way for me to be able to justify it mentally, scientifically, whatever, practically, was that this is putting you back into health. So clearly it's what you're supposed to have. And I think when other people in that period of time, and even now, like they say, "Hey, I want to do this diet." I'm like, "Cool, just get your blood tested." You know, and probably now the next level is get all your genetics like looked at too. So we kind of know that was like that's the next level after the blood markers, and to get a marker, see what's going on, see what could possibly happen with you, and then just monitor it. You can try whatever diet you want, right? I mean, like it's kind of fun to like to try the things and see how your body reacts and know where you're going and whatnot, and popping a blood sugar monitor on you and seeing where you go and when you do certain things. So like be the scientific, the scientist yourself. Don't listen to anyone else, like tell you what you need to do.
Mhm.
Run it through the filter of what your biometrics look like, what your gauges, how they're going, and if you're revving up too high, cut back something. Unfortunately, it might be the thing that you like really love. I
Right.
tell like my mother-in-law and my mom, like, I'm like, if you want to maintain like the healthy weight, particularly as you're getting older, the three things that I see that are put on weight is alcohol, it's bread, right? So we have alcohol, we have bread, and we have sugar, right? So those are the three. Wheat, I guess you would probably go on that, carbohydrates, if you want to do it that way. I mean,
Mhm.
remove two, and you'll maintain your weight. But if you keep two or three, it's not going
Y
to work. Or you can remove
Yeah.
all of them and you'll be super healthy, but no one wants to remove all of them.
Well, the funny thing is, when I, talk to women about their wine consumption, first of all, they won't list it on their food journal because they're like there's this sort of dissonance that they don't see wine as calories, or they're hiding it because whatever someone tells you they drink, it's actually double,
Yes.
like in real life of what
Yeah.
they admit that they drink. But it has this awful double whammy of, not only extra calories that you don't need that can go straight into fat storage, but also decimating your sleep so that the next day you're actually, craving bad for you foods more often because you're tired and you're like kind of dehydrated and hungover a little bit, and your blood sugar is a little wacky from it being whacked from the alcohol. So it's, those, glucose monitors. We just did a glucose challenge with levels,
Oh yeah. Oh
just
cool.
just last month, and I I hope that people start understanding how to better biohack themselves. And that, pretty soon, like even you could just go order a B12 on yourself without having to, labs, I mean, or your
Yeah.
ferritin. Like, why can't I just go to CVS and say, like, hey, I want to get my ferritin checked? You know?
It's wild that we can't do it. It's like heaven forbid that we maybe be able to have a little bit of control over what our body's doing and
I
how to
know.
monitor it. It's wild.
I know. So I'm so glad that you've recovered your health. And
Thank you.
what did your partner say? I mean, she was down this vegan journey with you. How did she react when you started eating the yogurt and pulling animal foods in?
Oh, I remember we were sitting at a follow-up with in James's office, and he looked at her and he was just like, how do you feel?" And she's like, "I feel like I have my husband back again." So, I mean, it was that noticeable. It was, yeah. So yeah,
But
she
so
was.
did she was she also vegan though? And did she so she wasn't putting up any kind of resistance at all to you eating the
No,
yogurt?
no, she was she was doing because she just tends to like a lot of vegetables. And so the not having the meat at that point, Anne-Marie was just like, "That's fine, like I'll try it." But even to today, I mean, she definitely eats meat, but it's not like she's just not like some people are just kind of wired that way, like I'd eat meat, just the whole plate of it, and I'd be fine, just just with that. And she's like the opposite. She'll eat a whole bunch of vegetables and then, a little piece of meat.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I can't say
So
I can't say that like eating all the meat that I eat is 100% healthy either.
well,
You know what I mean?
no, I think everyone's constitution is a little bit
Yeah.
different. As someone who went for 26 years as an undiagnosed celiac, I
Ooh,
definitely
yeah.
had some, irreversible damage done to my guts, and uh, vegetables just don't work that great for me. So I do eat some, but I tend to, they're almost the condiments to my meals. So it's like my meals need to be more meat centric, and then I'll have like some mushrooms and onions or some arugula, or some herbs or something like that. But I tend to be quite meat centric, but that does not mean I advocate for complete carnivorism
Right.
for all people. Although I have um in one case one nutrition client of mine who was an obsessive overeater, compulsive overeater. um it was it was so distracting to her to have to navigate all the choices, and so many foods were triggering her to overconsume, that limiting her choices for a period of time for 3 months to just meat while she kind of recalibrated her satiety signaling and her brain's reaction to eating. It worked miracles for her. So, and she didn't go deficient. She lost 60 pounds in 3 months. And
It's
I mean, it was
amazing, right?
amazing. But I definitely don't, I follow on Facebook a lot of the carnivore groups where people will post, oh, it's, things aren't really working for me. And everyone's pouncing on, but go harder, eat more meat, whatever. And I'm like, you don't really have to.
I
There
know.
just because something's not working for you doesn't mean that you have to go harder. And I know with veganism too, it tends to be if people aren't um if people are struggling with their health, then it's, well, you have to go raw, or you have to go fruit only, or just breathe air and you'll be fine. Um just being a little bit more reasonable about things is definitely my approach.
It it's weird when it goes from that, like, healthy diet, healthy diet dogma. There's
Yeah.
it slips into dogma pretty and it kind of nebulously, but it
Mm.
does. And then that's when it's like what I was saying with raw food and detox. You still need to detox more. It's like, no, I don't think so. Like, you need to eat meat more. It's like, no, no, no. Like, we've gone down this rabbit hole. Like, let's turn around and let's see if there's another path. And I think that's something that's hard. It's it's hard to teach people that, to like, to be able to kind of like pull out of it, because it becomes an identity. And then what do you do when you have an identity? Like, it's just
Right.
like, that's what I am. It's really hard to change that sort of thing. The other thing is personality. Like, personality types in diet
That's true.
aren't really like looked at as much as I think they probably should be, because there are just some people who can get up every morning at the same time. They can run for 45 minutes at the same park. They can do all these amazing things. And these are some of the people who are teaching diet, right? And so if if they're telling you like you just have to eat this one thing every day, prepare your meals on Sunday, do all the things, like that's amazing. I wish I could do that. Like I would love to be able to do that. It would make everything so easy. It's just like wearing the same clothing every day, like the Steve Jobs thing. Like, please just let it do it. But I can't do that. Like I am like I'm all over the map. I'm wild, right? I need like all different experiences, all different types of things. So that system doesn't work for me. So what's the system that works for me? It's like, all right, it's that not moderation that you were talking about. Like,
Yeah.
can I, you know, do 80, do the Pareto's rule? Can I do like, 80%? Can I get 20%, get 80% results? Like something like that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then the rest of it, just let me be free because I can't fall into the category of the everyday same thing over and over.
Well, and that's a nice thing about even, there were some people that when paleo first came out were super hardcore about it, but it was never intended to be that way. It was intended to be like, okay, for those of us, and Rob, my co-author and the author of the Paleo Solution, he and I are both like autoimmune, crazy gut reactions to lots of foods. He and I have to be like 90% paleo with the exception of like some gluten-free chips or whatever here and there.
Yeah.
But, the average person can just kind of like 80-20 stay in that zip code and just be reasonable. And so therefore it doesn't need to be a dogma. It's like a zip code, right? Like just kind of like circulate around the paleo zip code. You'll be okay. Um, yeah.
I like that zip code. That's good. 90210.
Yeah. So there's probably a lot of people that have no idea. Oh no, well, they came out with another version of that show.
Oh,
Like,
they did?
and yeah, there was like a second version of like the kids of
Oh, I
that.
don't know. I don't know. I just watch documentaries.
It's probably a good call. So talk a little bit about the how you created this company. So I mean, obviously you partnered with somebody. You kind of went to them. They were already making other products, and you said we'd like to do a line. Is
Yeah.
that how it kind of started?
So she was making a spa line, and she was she was just like, I just do spas. And we're like, okay, well, do you want to partner with us and we'll do it? And she's like, I don't know. Like, I'm just doing the spas and this is kind of my thing. She was kind of small, just a small little manufacturer. And so we're just like, all right, that's fine. We'll just promote your spa line on our show and that's it. Cool. Like your products are great. We're not going to like let that stop us from doing anything. And about, I don't know if it was a couple weeks or a couple months later, like she called up and she's like, you know what, let's do something. I saw your video, like you sold some products. Like, let's see what we can do here. And so at first we were private labeling one or two of her products. And then from there, as we got our feet kind of like wet doing, the actual skincare part of it, because we were into health. So we knew all like kind of like, even if it was vegan, like we knew like all the kind of categories of health that kind of needed to be done. We knew high quality product. We just knew all that sort of stuff because we were sourcing cinnamon from down in Costa Rica. We were sourcing muña, which is an Andean mint from Peru. So we had gone there and like done it and like seen the thing. And so we knew how to do that sort of thing. And so we started to have our input, and then it kind of actually turned into us influencing what she did for her spa line, just because Rachel in particular, our COO, she just has such a knack for finding the ingredients that actually are pure and natural, and then making sure they stay that way. I think this is kind of a really important thing to
Mm,
note is every once in a while you'll follow up with a manufacturer, hey, you're still like doing the same thing. And they'll be like, yeah, let me check. And then, the phone call back is like, oh no, we switched it to something else. So, like, we've been caught in instances where the manufacturer, the manufacturer of the larger good, right? They've just changed where they got it from. And so then we have to go back and look. And so now we have an audit process because we can't, like, I can't tolerate that. I mean, whether they're doing it intentionally or not, I don't think anyone's really doing a lot of this stuff intentionally. I think it's just like, it's not, it's an ignorance to it. um,
Mhm.
we have this auditing process where we have to go through it and we have to make sure it's like, are you sure you're still not using nanoparticles for your, your silicates or anything like that? You know what I mean? It's like, why do we have to ask this? But we do, and we really, it's really important to keep doing it, because they might change it just right underneath you. And what's cool that we've done over time is we've created our now sourcing, where we'll source things from smaller farms, and make sure that we know where that's going. And then we have a 44 acres here in Connecticut, where we started a little farmlet, where the last 2 years Anne-Marie has grown herbs to steep into the products, to create our estate blend. So we have an estate oil, and then we're having a sugar scrub that's coming out shortly. That the herbs are grown here. We can't do the seed oils. I mean, I don't even know what that would look like. That would be that would be brutal. I don't know how many acres you need for
A
that
lot.
type of stuff, or even climate.
Right.
But the herbs that we have been put in the product, and it's remarkable to think, like, now knowing from start to finish, which is we'd never done start to finish before, and now that we have, um man, it's hard work. It's like it's like really, really hard work, and I understand why people don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard. There's a
Yeah.
lot of work into it. Things fail. Deer eat the plants that they're not supposed to eat, like the deer resistant plants. No, they eat them. It's just,
It's like a deer
echinacea.
salad bar.
It is the deer salad bar. So they love it, So
And deer fencing is expensive. I don't know if you've looked into it, but, I have a little bit of a farming background. Deer
yeah.
fencing is expensive, but it does sometimes work.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have some areas here that we're going to fence this year, just because, again, we thought that, deer resistant meant deer resistant.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, the other issue is that there are too many deer,
Yeah.
and we need more hunters, which people don't like because they don't like
Yeah.
they don't like it. So, yeah, it's a huge problem.
Yeah. I've not hunted yet. Anne Anne Marie has said, and I kind of feel the same way. They're like our neighbors. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of wander on our property, so they're our neighbors. It's
Yeah.
like, it's okay to go to someone else's property and, like, maybe try it, but, like, our property, it's like there are people. So I don't know. It's kind of a weird human psychological thing that's going on there, but I think we'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so right now people can find your products mostly just through your website. Do you retail them anywhere as well?
We we retail in some small shops around the country, but
Okay.
it's all direct to consumer at annmariegianni.com. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and you've got multiple lines, so you've got uh and all kinds of things. You've got cleansers, exfoliants, a lovely mask that doesn't like dry out your face like crazy. It just is like moisturizing
We do
and
on the
have
Pro Mask?
I have it's a small jar that it's like has a really luscious texture to it. Again,
Yeah.
it's like it has this amazing feel. What is
Pro
it?
Mask, yeah. Pro Mask, yeah.
Yeah, ProMass.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm. Mhm.
Love it. Twice a week.
It's awesome.
Yep.
I love masking day. I got, like, look, I don't know if I look the part, but masking, the scrub, like, I love the scrub, like, just like with the cleanser, just,
Yeah.
a couple times a week. It makes a difference.
Yeah. And I don't know, we may have if people go to the show notes on my website, there may be some kind of discount that we're running. I'm not remembering off the top of my head if we have something with you, but check the show notes
Yeah.
for any special
I'm sure
whatever.
there's something special. If there's not, we'll make it.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's always fun to learn how people got into this, and also the conversion away from a diet that wasn't working for you. Um, congratulations for finding the right path and for becoming an herb farmer and everything. It's been really great to chat with you.
Yeah, it's been great chatting with you too. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much for listening today and for following my work. If you believe in making sure people all over the world should have access to nutritious food, please join my mission through my nonprofit, the Global Food Justice Alliance. Visit sustainabledish.com/join and become a sustaining member today. All sustaining members get early access to ad-free podcasts plus free downloads, and you'll be helping get healthy protein like meat, fish, and eggs to food insecure kids. That's sustainabledish.com/join. And thank you.